this summer in Minnesota with a terrible drought that has affected most parts of my state, fires in Minnesota's boundary waters, and Gooseberry Falls, which flows into Lake Superior, which is slowed to a trickle. We know in Minnesota that this is our moment to take action, and we cannot waste this moment. It is a moral imperative, but it is also an economic imperative. It is a health imperative. It is a justice issue. Now, let me say, the bipartisan infrastructure package that President Biden signed into law on Monday is a big deal. It is going to make significant progress making roads and bridges and transit systems more available and safer and better at getting our products to market in Minnesota. And the bold investment in drinking water is going to make a big difference for the health of people all over this country. And the investment in electric vehicles and infrastructure for electric vehicles is a big deal for moving our economy towards a clean energy future. But this infrastructure bill needs its other half. It cannot lift all this weight all on its own. And that is why we must pass we must address this climate challenge head on, and we must pass the Build Back Better Act. This act is going to take the kind of strong action that we need to move us towards the commitments and the pledges that President Biden has made. It expands clean energy tax credits so that we can make the transition to a clean energy future. It provides us with a fast path towards increasing energy efficiency for homes and for public buildings. And it builds out the power transmission so that we can get affordable and reliable clean energy. The leaders in the House behind me can do this. They will do this. And then it is up to President Biden and the Senate to finish this job. There will be more work to do, more work ahead, but I have great confidence that we can take strong climate action to move our economy towards a clean energy future that is going to make us more competitive, that is going to put us on the forefront of a clean energy revolution, that will improve our health, and that will strengthen our economy. So thank you to my House colleagues for the work that you're doing. Let's go get it done.
Wow, thank you, Senator Smith. That was really inspiring. And thank you to the League of Conservation Voters. A shout out to my chapter, the Oregon League of Conservation Voters. I'm Suzanne Bonamici from Oregon. Thank you for being here today to recognize that we must pass the Build Back Better Act. I just returned from the COP26, the Conference of Parties in Glasgow with Speaker Pelosi and a delegation, and we are energized and we are ready to take action here in the U.S. House. And I want to emphasize, and I see some of the signs here, that addressing the climate crisis means jobs, lots of jobs, good jobs. And the Build Back Better Act recognizes this and makes bold investments in cutting emissions, but also in growing a workforce. So together with the infrastructure bill that President Biden signed just the other day, the Build Back Better Act will create more than 200 million jobs over each of the next 5 years. That's really significant and really meaningful. And our efforts to build and repair infrastructure and our transition to a clean energy economy, we need a skilled workforce. So it's critical that we have a path for people to get the jobs, the skills that they need to get these good jobs. And that's through workforce training programs, registered apprenticeships. Shout out, this is a National Apprenticeship Week. So I have been fighting for robust workforce funding in the Build Back Better Act to make this possible so we can actually carry through on all of these important investments that we're making. We secured about $20 billion in the current bill. We also have funding for the Climate Conservation Corps. We're going to get people back to work building a clean energy economy. The workforce funding in Build Back Better is also going to provide workers with support services like childcare, transportation, and tools that they need to complete their training. And importantly, we know how important environmental justice is, and we know that the climate crisis has disproportionately affected communities of color, our BIPOC communities, low-income communities. We're going to make these opportunities available to those who have historically faced barriers to employment, particularly women and people of color. And I've spoken with people in apprenticeship programs. They tell me these programs change their life and their family's future. And just imagine what it's going to look like with all of these clean energy jobs across Oregon and across the country. And at this crucial moment, this code red for humanity moment. We have a remarkable opportunity to take bold action that will address the climate crisis and improve the lives of workers and families in Oregon and across the state. So we are energized, we are ready, we're going to get this done. I'm urging my colleagues in the House and the Senate to pass Build Back Better as soon as possible this week and then over to the Senate. I thank Speaker Pelosi for her continued commitment to get this done and over the finish line. We have science, public opinion, and momentum on our side.
Yes, we do, Congresswoman Bonamici. Thank you so much. And now I know we are all absolutely thrilled to hear from someone who needs no introduction, the most pro-environment, pro-climate Speaker of the House we have ever had by far, Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Thank you so much, Speaker Pelosi.
Thank you, Tiernan, and thank you, League of Conservation Voters, for getting us to the place we are now. You've heard me say again and again, we all have our goals, our vision, our plans, our knowledge, and we can only do so much with our inside mobilization, maneuvering. The outside mobilization makes all the difference in the world. So thank you, League of Conservation Voters and other groups who have been part of mobilizing opinion and organizing people across the country to save our planet. I'm honored to be here with our distinguished chair of the House Democratic Caucus, Mr. Jeffries, to be here with Mr. Horsford of Nevada, a leader on this issue, but also with three members that I was honored to be with in Glasgow. Suzanne Bonamici, as you just heard, Mike Levin, whom I don't know if you've heard from yet, but you will, and Veronica Escobar. When we were there, people were very glad that America was back, as President Biden said. They were pleased that the other bill had passed the House, but they're very, very eager about this bill, which makes it happen for us in terms of preserving the planet, and doing so by lowering costs for families, by reducing pollution by 50% by 2030, by creating good-paying union jobs, and to do so with equity, with fairness, to build back better, Over about $500 billion in this legislation to protect the planet. It's a health issue, clean air, clean water for our children. It's a jobs issue, making America preeminent in good-paying green jobs. It's also a national security issue because competition for habitat and resources resulting from drought, and you know all of the challenge of natural disasters springing from the climate crisis. And it is a moral issue, if you believe, as I do, that this is God's creation and we have a moral obligation to be good stewards. But even if you don't share that view religiously, we all share it morally, that we have a responsibility to future generations. So again, thank you, League of Conservation Voters, all of the organizations who are making the strength of this, the mobilization of the American people. And you know, it's fabulous, it's great, it's big, but it's a good start. We have more to do. So I look forward to working with all of you, inside maneuvering, outside mobilization, and we're ready, again, to honor our responsibilities to future generations. Thank you, League of Conservation Voters. Now I'm pleased to yield to Tiernan.
Chair Jeffries.
to our distinguished chair of the caucus, Mr. Jeffries.
Thank you. It's impossible to follow Speaker Nancy Pelosi, but it's an honor and a privilege to stand with our amazing speaker, as well as these distinguished members of the House Democratic Caucus, as well as the League of Conservation Voters and all of the climate activists and champions who are here at this very important, urgent moment for our country, for our planet, for our environment. The Build Back Better Act will invest in a green economy. It will invest in a sustainable economy. It will invest in a resilient economy. It will address decisively the climate crisis that we face with the fierce urgency of now, and in the biggest, boldest, broadest way in American history, because we know there is no planet B. And unless we address this crisis, as the scientists have indicated. And unless we cut global pollution by at least 50% at or in advance of 2030, the consequences will be catastrophic. Extreme weather events just this year alone have cost this country in excess of $100 billion. And things are not going to get any better on their own. And so investing in dealing with the climate crisis means investing in the creation of millions of good-paying jobs. It means investing in dealing with the crisis in a decisive manner that meets the moment. It means lowering energy costs for everyday Americans. And it means meeting the promises that President Biden had indicated he would undertake to deal with the climate crisis that we confront. And so this is something that is going to happen. It's going to happen in a big and bold and historic way. And the planet is going to be much better off as a result of it. We're going to get climate action done. We're going to get the Build Back Better Act done. We're going to do it together. Thank you for your partnership.
Yes, we are, Chair Jeffries. Thank you for your incredible leadership. And now I am thrilled. People may have noticed we have a surprised speaker. I think this really speaks volumes to the determination to pass Build Back Better, to meet the moment on climate, jobs, and justice. To have Speaker Pelosi and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer here together is such an honor and clearly demonstrates what a priority this is for Democrats to get it done. Majority Leader Schumer, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiernan, and thank you and the great job that LCV and Climate Power does on this, the fundamental issue of our time. First, I want to celebrate the great achievement we made earlier this week with the bipartisan infrastructure bill becoming law. In the days, weeks, and months ahead, the American people will see the benefit of this bill in their daily lives. I also want to acknowledge Tina Smith was here from the Senate and all the great, diverse, in many different ways, House members who are here as well. And a shout out again to LCV and Climate Power who are here today. Now, we all know climate change is going to get worse and worse and worse. I tell my constituents, last year with COVID was awful. But in a few years, because of climate change, each year will be worse than COVID, and each year will be worse than the next if we don't do anything about it. The effect of climate change is just going to be horrible. But don't despair, America. Don't despair, world. Our Build Back Better tackles climate in a bold, ambitious way by making targeted investments in American industries, infrastructure, agriculture, to create millions of jobs with good wages while restoring our manufacturing competitiveness. Targeted investments in key parts of the American economy is going to spur a green industrial revolution while lowering the cost of energy for everyday Americans and ensuring that all of us have the cleanest, most efficient technologies available to our homes, our vehicles, our workplace. While no one provision is enough to address the climate crisis, the investments in clean energy and transportation will put us on a path to delivering on the President's ambitious goal, reduction of greenhouse gases by 50% by 2030. That's an extremely ambitious goal, and we are going to do everything we can to meet it. That's why President Biden and I are working day and night to make sure this bill gets done. But addressing our emissions reduction is not sufficient. We need to ensure that at least 40% of the benefits are flowing to disadvantaged communities and that people live in communities dependent on fossil fuels are given the support they need so no one's left behind during the transition. The crisis is real. Our package is too important. There is universal consensus that we have to come to an agreement, and we're working nonstop to get that done. In fact, I got to go do it right now. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.